Hey guys, it's Melanie. Happy Thursday. Today's video is just supposed to be fun. It's a little trip down memory lane. It's also a little bit of a share the love because this video, and I think I'm going to turn it into a series actually, was inspired by someone, and it's a new channel that I've discovered in the last month, actually couple of months. I want to share this person with you guys in case you don't know who she is. And yeah, so honestly, I want today's video just to be fun and to just take your mind off of things and maybe remind you of a simpler time. I don't know. Could have also been an anxiety-filled time. I know it was for me during certain parts of the decade. But yeah, so today's video is, it's 90s skincare, you guys. I sort of came of age, I guess you could say, in the 90s. I was born in 1978, so most of the 80s I was busy being like a little kid, you know, playing with Barbies. I was one of those girls. You know, going outside and running around and, you know, just living that 80s life. And then in the 90s, I started middle school, I went through high school, and then I was also in college. So the 90s was a very interesting time for me because it was a period of huge personal growth. And I experimented a lot with beauty stuff in the 90s. We're gonna talk about my skincare experimentations in that particular decade. And I would also like to do just an entire series of crap I loved during the 90s. Makeup, body care, hair care, fragrance. We're just gonna cover the whole gamut, so prepare yourselves because this is not the last 90s video you're gonna see from me. Where did this all come from? Okay, so yesterday I was watching Cate of Cate the Great Beauty. Some of you guys may already be familiar with Cate here on YouTube. She has a beauty channel, and I got hooked on Cate a couple months ago when Penny from Penn Smith Skincare we had met up, we were having coffee, and she was like, do you watch Cate? And I was like, who's that? And dude, after that meeting with Penny, I went home and just went down the rabbit hole of Cate the Great. She's hysterical, you guys. First off, her sense of humor really aligns with my own. She's so funny. She is very sarcastic. I think she has a very dry sense of humor. She's very real. She's very honest. And she's such a joy to watch. So one of my favorite things to do has been to watch her live videos lately because first off, the people that watch and support Cate are fantastic, and I actually recognize some of your guys' names in the in her comments sections on those live videos, and it just makes me happy to see some of you guys over there as well. So if you already know Cate, I don't need to sell you on anything because you already know how amazing she is, but I just appreciate the joy that she is injecting to my afternoons on Monday and Wednesday and Friday when she does her live videos. She's been doing like some skincare while she's been doing her lives. She's been doing some like get ready with me makeup type videos during those lives. And it's just, she always has the funniest stuff to talk about. Basically, just go subscribe to her, you guys. If you're not already, subscribe to her. Go check her out. Support her channel. She is just very, I just like her. Like, I honestly, at some point, I have to meet her because she's so funny. And there is nothing more important in life, I feel like, than to be able to laugh. now is obviously a very difficult time for a lot of people, and when you can find someone who can bring you some joy and some laughter during a difficult time, I think that that person is just a huge blessing in your life. And I'm just very thankful to have found her channel, and a big thanks to Penny for recommending her, because she's just a joy to watch. So if you're not watching her, I'm going to link her channel down below. And yeah, so this video today was inspired because in her live stream yesterday, somehow we all got onto the topic of the 90s. And for whatever reason, I just thought that, much like me, she loved the 90s. Turns out it's not her favorite time. It is mine. But yeah, I imagined her to be like one of the hippest like girls in the 90s, but she swears she wasn't. But anyway, my favorite time, my favorite decade would definitely be the 90s, and that is what inspired this video. Is they were talking about it in the live, and then I went upstairs into do my skincare later that night. And I opened my skincare drawer that I have in the bathroom, and one of the things that I saw sitting there was this, and it just brought back this flood of memories of things that I used to use in the 90s that I just thought were the greatest skincare items ever. And this, for me, by the way, this is the Olay Active Hydrating Fluid. This one is not from the 90s, but I used this in the 90s. But this brought back a flood of memories to me, because this is the only skincare product besides soap that she made herself that my Oma used. My Oma had the most beautiful skin. I remember being a little kid and just thinking about how soft her face was every time that, you know, she went in to give me a kiss or a hug, and how amazing she smelled. And the thing that I always smelled on her was this. My Oma never really wore perfume, but she did put on this Olay beauty fluid every single day. And when I was growing up in Germany in the 80s, I remember going into her bathroom, and anytime that I opened up her medicine cabinet, the first thing I saw was a bottle of this. But back then in Germany, it was in a clear glass bottle, very similar shape to this. Oh, the smell, you guys, it is fragranced to high heaven. So all of you fragrance phobes out there are probably extra cringy right now, but I don't know. Smell is such a nostalgic thing for me, and I don't mind it in skincare personally. I understand that it is a concern and why it is a concern, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, if it smells good and it doesn't cause a reaction, I'm gonna use it. But yeah, this just, every time that I smell this, it just takes me down memory lane, and it reminds me of that glass bottle, that beautiful glass bottle that would sit in her medicine cabinet, and she would use it every morning and night, and her skin was amazing, and she smelled like $1,000,000, and it just reminds me of happiness. So my first nostalgic product from the 90s was this. So I think I actually purchased this one in like sometime in the mid-2000s, maybe around the time that Craig and I got married. I can't even remember how long I've had this. I'm surprised this has not turned. I don't intend to use this on my face. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not going to use this on my face, but I am going to finish this just on my décolleté and on my arms and kind of other places on my body to finish it up. I'm actually wearing it today, and I can smell that lovely, soft, powdery rose scent just like wafting up to my face. It just makes me happy. But this was my moisturizer in the 90s, you guys. When I started getting into skincare in more so in high school for this, the first thing I thought to go buy was the Olay Beauty Fluid, because that's what Oma used, and Oma had beautiful, clear, amazing skin, and she was soft and so pretty for her age. So yeah, this was the only moisturizer that I allowed myself to use during the 90s. Now, I had pretty terrible skin once I entered my teenage years. Middle school, fairly rough. pimples, just a lot of pimples, and like really deep, kind of painful pimples. And bless my mom's heart, she knew nothing about skincare. And she still does not use very much skincare at all. I buy her stuff all the time. I go to her house to visit, and it's all sitting completely untouched on her bathroom counter. It looks very pretty sitting there, but she's just, my mom and I are polar opposites in a lot of ways, and one of them is when it comes to beauty stuff. So my mom was very much like, oh, I know that acne sucks. Here are some things. So this is what she started me with. I have a list. I actually sat down and thought about this. All right. Let me know down below which of these items you used, or let me know what you used during the 90s. So my cleansers to clean my face, I used the following. Noxzema. Do you guys remember Noxzema in the blue plastic jar? You had to like unscrew the lid and scoop it out. And it was this thick, heavy, greasy cleansing cream that smelled of like menthol. It was so strong. But that smell, whenever I think of that smell, it just reminds me of clean. Like that is what I equated with clean face, is Noxzema. Another thing that I used to use that really was not a good fit for my skin type, the Noxzema was actually okay, but Pond's cold cream. Do you guys remember the, again, plastic jars of Pond's cold cream? Oh man, smearing that on my face and then washing it off, and like the residue never really came off. And so my solution for removing the residue was to then go in with Sea Breeze. That is right. At the time, they didn't really call them toners. They called them astringents. Do you guys remember that? So I would just buy cotton in bulk and the largest size of Sea Breeze that I could find, and I would just run it all over my face. It was full of alcohol, highly fragranced. So bad for your skin. It just dried my skin out so much. And then as a result, my skin overproduced oil, and then the pimples only got worse over time. So I was not doing myself any favors the way that I was treating my skin, but you live, you learn, right? So Sea Breeze was a huge thing for me. When I wasn't using the Noxzema or the cold cream, I was using the Neutrogena bar soap. Do you guys remember that orange, kind of slightly translucent bar soap? For whatever reason, I was like, bar soap, that is the way to go. I think it's because I saw my Oma using bar soap, but she made the soap herself, so I'm sure there weren't quite as many like gross ingredients. But so it's just this, I think it was mostly glycerin, probably. I would use that. Again, it would just dry the heck out of my face, and then I would dry my face out even more with some more Sea Breeze, because one, I love the way Sea Breeze smelled, and two, it dried up my oil for 5 minutes. And I was way into that. My scrub of choice in the 90s was the St. Ives Apricot Scrub. This was back when it was still sold, again, in a little plastic tub. I swear everything came in a plastic tub in the 90s, and I would just get out this heaping, just scoop of scrub, and I would scrub my face, you guys. So much pressure. There were times when I rinsed it off, like I could see actual like scratches on my face, because I thought the more I scrub, the deeper I scrub, the more I will exfoliate the acne and the blackheads. And no, again, it just served to irritate my skin even more. And then with the inevitable pimples that always popped up because I was treating my skin like garbage, Clearasil. Yep, used Clearasil all the time. Clearasil was benzoyl peroxide, and I think it was like 10%. So it was pretty, pretty strong stuff. And instead of using it as a spot treatment, I just spread it all over my face. Every night I would go to bed with a face full of Clearasil, and I do remember my mom saying a couple times, I think you're just supposed to put it on the pimples. And I was like, no, Nope, because the pimples are everywhere. I'm just gonna put it all over. And I would wake up the next morning and my face was cracked sometimes because it was so painfully dry, using that high alcohol astringent, following up with a 10% benzoyl peroxide. Oof, it was brutal. So another couple of products that I lived for more so in like the later 90s was the Stridex pads, the Oxy pads, anything that had either salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide that I could wipe on my face and try to dry up the oil. And I don't know why I never really thought through it, but the more that I dried my skin out, the more that it overproduced oil, the more that I ended up with pimples. I mean, it was such a vicious cycle, but I really thought I was taking good care of my skin. And it just is like, it's one of those things where you look back and you're like, oof, yeah, it's really not a surprise that my skin looked like garbage for like a decade. It really wasn't until I got into like my mid-20s that I finally started figuring out that that harsh skincare routine was not working for me. Now, I certainly was not in the like skincare routine that I was in, that I am in now, when I was in my 20s, but it definitely improved just a little bit. I sort of simplified things a little bit. I wasn't using the St. Ives anymore at that point. I certainly wasn't using Noxzema or like the Pond's cold cream. I sort of figured out that that stuff was just terrible for my skin. But you know, I hadn't progressed to all the things that I'm doing now. But it's so funny to look back on that time and think about what my skin looked like. And I can honestly say now that at 41, my skin looks better than it did at like 15 or 16. You live, you learn, right? Anyway, I thought this would just be a fun kind of lighthearted series that we could do regarding the 90s. I wanted to start it off with skincare because we all talk about skincare all the time, and it's so fun to look back and see what you used to use and just how terrible it really was. And how I misused products left and right. Like, it just was a hot mess. But I don't know. If you weren't a hot mess when you were in middle school and high school, good for you. I was a disaster in a lot of different ways, but skincare, I mean, when I think about that, I could have saved myself a lot of trouble if I would have just taken it a little bit more easy on my skin. But anyway, so I don't know when I'm going to do part 2. I'm just going to do some thinking about maybe the makeup that I loved in the 90s, and maybe that's what our next video will be. So look for that next week perhaps, or the following week. Let me know down below in the comments what skincare you loved in the 90s. Also, if you're not subscribed to Cate, go subscribe to her. She's absolutely fantastic. I know most of you guys are really gonna enjoy her, so go show her some love. Tell her I said hi. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, especially right now. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for Friday Favorites and Flops. Take care. Bye.